Hey George, what's up, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Good, man. I'm so stoked to have you on here. I've been selfishly, I've been wanting to meet with you just because I've seen all the stuff on AI and how you're using
Yeah.
VAs and stuff. So I'm super stoked to just kind of learn more about how you're doing that. But dude, stoked to have you on here.
Well, dude, you're like the AI guy, man. Mr. Sling over here, come on. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, no, I've had a little bit of experience with AI. I feel like it's everywhere. Um, but yeah, dude, no, for people that don't know who George is, can you give me a
Yeah,
quick
I'll give a
background?
little intro for sure. So, hi, what's going on, everybody? But yeah, my background, worked in startups, had a startup in college. Um, dude, it was actually so funny. We did AI writing for students, so it was like I was just sick and tired of like doing homework. So it was like that's the problem I'm solving for. So we did that. We launched out like multiple universities, graduated, and it was just like, all right, we bootstrapped it, working a raise. And then the job I went to is actually kind of in VC, so raising money for startups from like pre-seed to Series B. Worked at another startup doing partnerships, and then started my own company using like automation and virtual assistants. We're actually kind of in, yeah, I don't. We're in the process of kind of possibly selling that right now, which is awesome. So we
Wow.
started that about 6 months ago. And then I joined Coconut VA as a co-founder. So yeah, they're awesome. I've literally loved it. Like yeah, I could not say one bad thing about them.
Dude, that's rad. And I mean, just looking at your LinkedIn, it kind of seems like you have this back and forth experience of like starting businesses and then going into sales back and forth. Like, dude,
Yeah,
why did
for
you end up
sure.
in sales?
Man, I'd say like, I don't know. I've always just loved people, man. Like I think at the end of the day, like I was always really frustrated with sales for a long time because I felt like it was really transactional. Like I felt like I was
Hmm.
using somebody. But then I realized that if you actually solve somebody's problem, like it is honestly probably one of the most satisfying things in the whole wide world. So that's like why you really need to believe in what you're selling, or if you've experienced the problem firsthand, then it's way easier to be like an advocate for it. And then also just like make these personal connections. Like you and I can hop on here and just like chop it up about whatever and like have a great time.
Yeah. So what was your first sales job? Like, was it in college or?
Cold Stone Creamery, man, slinging some ice cream. No, I'd say like probably like the actual like
I mean, the
first sales
retail, yeah,
gig.
I mean, retail sales is
Retail,
like,
right? Kind of.
that's definitely, yeah. I mean, I sold, used sporting goods in college.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
definitely a step in
Um,
that way.
I like first real sales job I was working like in the marketing department at my college, and my goal was essentially like sell kids on the university. So it was like get them to sign up, want to become a student. They'd be kind of like on these tours, checking out the whole campus, and then be like, all right, like just make sure they have the best experience possible. Tell them why it's amazing. Tell them your first in experience. Go through any objections with them on why they wouldn't love it or why they wouldn't want to come here. So that's kind of how it started.
That's sweet. And George, I feel like on some of these calls I've had or these podcasts, everyone gets into sales in a different way, and it kind of feels like people land in it. Um,
Yeah,
did you always want to be an entrepreneur, or was it like sales is going to like be my
for
path into
sure.
entrepreneurship, or was it,
Yeah.
hey, like this is just something I'm naturally good at? Like, why did you want to get into sales in the first place?
It's funny you asked this, man. I was literally like I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and I was like, I feel like I've always, like, when I was a kid, I had this book. It was like my book of inventions. So I was like, obviously, just the weirdest kid ever. I draw out all these different business ideas and this stuff that I want to do. And I asked her, I was like, was I always like this? She's like, literally, you were 5 years old selling rocks on the side of the road, like rocks. Like just to like random people. And then like when I got to high school and even when I was in middle school, I was like slinging stuff out of my backpack, just selling it to the other kids, like snacks or anything I could sell. And then got to high school and I did my first business, which is like essentially a media company. We did like photo and video. And then I started working with like bands and like sneaking into concerts and like taking pictures of that and then sending it to their managers and being like, hey, these will be $500 for these pictures. And, I just like snuck in with a fake media badge or something. So that's kind of how it all started. And just like, it kind of evolved from there. But I always knew I wanted to become my own founder, my own person, but I knew that I would still have to learn so much along the way. So it's like, where can I just learn the most and accelerate that as fast as possible? And I'm like still there, right? It's like, I love working at Coconut because every day I'm learning something completely new. And like, yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs really have this untraditional path of growing up and starting to sell one thing, but it's really just this idea of like trying to solve problems and like how can I make money and all these different things. Selling freaking rocks out of your backpack or
Yeah,
sneaking into concerts and stuff like that. Um, so I guess one of the things I'm super interested in, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be interested in this, is just understanding like your path in like the last couple uh, ventures you've had. So I know you left Forecaster recently.
yeah,
You started Thunderstrike. You just joined Coconut VA. Could you kind of like just help me walk through the last year of
for sure.
what's been leading up to all these
Yeah,
things? Because I'm really
what the heck
interested
is
in,
happening?
yeah, like what's going on for George, but also like, yeah, let's go there, and then I have some other follow up questions that
For
I'm
sure.
interested in.
So I was like, before I came over to Forecaster, I was raising money for startups, pre-seed to Series B, like in investor relations at this accelerator. It was awesome. And then I was like, I wasn't too happy at that position. And like there was some weird stuff going on with the company. So I decided to go work at another firm. But then I got the offer to join the Forecaster team. I fell in love with the team and worked with them. And I was just like, I know I'm going to learn so much here. And I was learning from, the legend, Jeff Erickson himself, every single day.
Go,
So
Jeff.
go, Jeff, come on. And yeah, I feel like I've mentioned him in every single podcast I've ever done. I'm like, dude, Jeff is literally, Jeff, if you watch this, you're the freaking man. But yes, like learned so much at Forecaster and from the founders and what it looks like to be at more of like an earlier stage startup. And I was like, man, I just really want to solve a problem. So I knew that working in VC, I should reach out to somebody that I either worked with, went to school with, or had previous experience with in general. So I literally cold called, like a couple of the guys that were in the engineering department. And one of them was like, I just had a kid and now I work at IBM. No, but you should call this guy. So I cold called him. I was like, hey, don't know if you remember me, but do you want to build a company together? And he's like, yep. I was like, great. Hung up the phone. Next day, we hopped on, or actually the same day, we hopped on a Google Meet and a Zoom and just started talking about different ideas and what we could build. And then we're like, all right, let's just test the market. So we started going door to door, just talking to business owners. And we started building out, it was like a dual sided marketplace for food and beverage workers, like an Uber of staffing, horrible
Mhm.
idea. We got like, I think we got 3,000 signups in, I think like 4 or 5 days for the workers, but the people that actually were going to pay didn't, they didn't want it. It wasn't a big problem for them. So, um, I thought back to kind of the whole process in that and was like, all right, well, we couldn't get any good data on people. And it took me hours to make these lead lists. And as a salesperson doing that previously, it really sucked. So what can we do? And that's kind of how Thunderstrike was born. So I started Thunderstrike when I was still at Forecaster and was just working literally like graveyards on it. So I'd get off at 5 and then I would literally just work the rest of the day until midnight. And those were some of like the hardest days. Like it really sucked. I felt like I did not have a life. Literally thank the Lord for some of the guys that are in Austin because they would work with me until midnight or like until 1 a.m. just on their own stuff or just work in general. So shout out to the guys in Austin. But yeah, man, I kept working on that. We started talking to a ton of customers, validating it. We didn't even have a product. And I met with a lot of my YC buddies. And they're just like, look, just sell it, like just talk to your customers and sell it. So I just started pre-selling without a product, hearing the problems that people are facing. And then we started to get contracts, which was nuts that like people were signing contracts. I was like, this is insane. They wouldn't go to a contract. We'd have them go to an LOI. And that's kind of how we built our whole pipeline. And then the plan was to raise venture. And a lot of other stuff happened to get me to Coconut. I'm happy to happy to dive into that, dude. I'll stop there.
No, I'm super curious to understand what the AI is for Thunderstrike as well, because I'm in sales. A lot of people that are listening to this are in sales, and I feel like we have a lot of manual tasks that could be helped. And I've seen different AI tools from things that will plug into your CRM to automated outreach and even things within personalization. But what specifically was Thunderstrike doing that made lives easier for salespeople?
Yeah, like the really novel thing that we were doing and what we are still doing is essentially we were pulling leads from your CRM and using data to figure out what are all the commonalities between all your successful closed won sales, and then automatically scraping the internet to find similar leads. So in short, like closed one sale, we scrape the internet, find similar leads to that, so you close at a higher rate. And then from that, we also found out people like myself, and I think a lot of the other people included, were like, man, I'm wasting hours of my day on like LinkedIn Sales Nav or like Zoom Info or Apollo or whatever. And I'm like clicking manually all these individuals that I want to reach out to. And I need to have it be personalized because that's like how I get the most effective rate of response. So then we're like,
Hmm.
well, what if you're just new to the role and you didn't really know what to do or know how to use any of these softwares, or you've been in the role for like 5, 10 years and you're just tired of making these lead lists over and over and over again. So we made like a ChatGPT lead for lead lists. So you just describe the type of individual, customer, industry size, revenue, stage of company, and then automatically it will scrape the internet for you and then bring back all of those leads with data.
So is it like a Chrome extension? Is it a website? How do I use the tool?
Native software. Yeah, so it's you can totally still sign up. We're taking on people as we speak. But yeah, it's a native.
So
It's like a web app. Like maybe like using Jasper, I guess, if you know what Jasper is.
okay, so I would just like bookmark it and go in and say, hey, I need this type of lead list, or how does that work?
Yeah, so like just like you'd use ChatGPT, there's like two features for us. Like so on the ChatGPT for lead list side, like you literally just hop onto our platform and we would, you'd sign up, we would onboard you, learning all about your customer, and then essentially train AI bots to go scrape the internet based off of your ideal customer. And then anytime that you put in a prompt, either in the background, we'll already have those leads stored up specifically for you, or it'll actually go deploy new AI bots to go scrape new information and then give you those leads back based on any prompt. And then the second side is where we just connect to your CRM, analyze your whole deal pipeline, see what are all the commonalities of the closed deals that have won for you. And then we go scrape the internet based off of that, off of like all those commonalities of those prospects, and then generate similar prospects.
Interesting. So do you have competitors in this space, or
Like, no, really. There's like two other people that I'd say are like the closest, but like also way different softwares. Is like OpenGTM and Plena. Actually, both Utah-based companies, and they're super sick.
okay?
Shout out to the guys over there. Literally, big fans of y'all and everything you guys are doing. But no, yeah, I'd say they're probably the closest, but still vastly different for sure.
Okay, yeah. I'm curious because I feel like there's so many different AI tools, but it's so hard because one comes out and then there's a bunch of different competitors trying to do the same thing. And so
Yeah.
I feel like over the next couple of years, it's going to see like who ends up building the best product. How did you build it? Did you outsource
Oh,
talent,
dude.
or how did you guys build this?
Yeah, so that guy that I cold called, he ended up becoming my co-founder, and we just kept building together. So like he graduated college, I think at like 17,
Oh wow.
and
So is
he's just
he
a
so is he like the
beast.
CTO?
Yeah, he's a CTO. So he did everything software product development wise. And then I was just on growth, marketing, sales, and anything like operations, finance. That was kind of the whole fundraising. That was the whole area I played in. So he was really just building the product and making the stuff happen. So we were definitely a really good team.
Yeah, because you have a strong sales background, all the charm, connections with VCs,
I don't know
and
about
he
the
can
charm,
actually
dude, but
deliver.
something.
But he can deliver on promises or things that you're looking to build. Because I'm sure there's still bugs in the system and stuff like that,
Oh
especially
yeah,
where
yeah,
you're.
yeah.
I mean, how long have you been building it out?
5 months.
Okay, and dude, I read one of your LinkedIn posts and I can't remember what it was. It was like you guys got to six figures in 6 weeks or something like that using
Yeah, 5 weeks.
VAs.
Yo, which is crazy.
Okay, wow, that's
Um,
that's still insane.
no,
Um,
nuts, nuts.
what contributed to that?
Um, it's my like big, I think, philosophy for life is like, at least in when you're building business or just in general, is like, if you can make a process and system, automate it, and then delegate it, and then just repeat, you will be so set. Like you will be so set. So that's really like what I try to do. You have to make a system or a process in place to then automate as much of it as possible, and then from that point moving forward, you have to delegate it. But like for me, I couldn't afford to delegate it to somebody in the US. I couldn't afford to do it. I really couldn't, because I was still working a full-time job. But I figured, is there like a way around this? I still need people to book these meetings for me. I can do the meetings after work, like, or on the weekend, or I took 2 weeks off at Forecaster, and I took a bajillion calls. Like I literally for like 8 hours straight for 2 weeks, I had back-to-back 20-minute calls. So it was like all of our demos, all of the outreach, anything to help, and it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, we hired one VA for like 20 hours a week and then scaled her up and then like just kept hiring and hiring. And that's how I got closer to Eric and Tyler. And it would just, they were prospecting for us. They were sending demos. They were handling inbound. They were like setting investor meetings, which was crazy, like doing personalized outreach. And I mean, it was $12 an hour, right? So it was like, I was like, this is a no-brainer. And a lot of people are asking, how the heck are you have this business that's like, doing this much in revenue in a short amount of time, also working your full-time job? And I was just like, looking at VA, like that's who's making it happen. So then I ended up sending like a few dozen probably referrals over those guys. And then we started to get really close and just kept talking and talking and talking. And they were like, hey, we should actually talk about what it would look like if you came on as a co-founder, because they've literally done zero outbound, like zero.
Really?
Like, I'm talking like they have grown completely organically off of LinkedIn and referrals. So they got to like over 2 million in revenue by literally just posting on LinkedIn and referrals. So I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is like my dream. Like, this is like literally my freaking dream. Like I could come in here and like, we could do so much fun stuff, marketing and sales, and build out a team and build out systems and like automate stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this just gets me so stoked. And I think the main thing, man, is like, I realized in that whole process, you really don't have to believe the lie of like, you have to work a 9 to 5, like your whole life. Like you can actually make your dream come true and affect people's lives. And there's a system to it. And like, there's a way you can do it. You don't have to go sell everything and work 90 hours a week and then live off of ramen. Like there's other ways around that. And like, that's what I like really want to help everybody do now, which is like, I feel like I was able to do that, which is so cool.
Well, and that's what makes me really interested here, and why I feel like this message is really important for people listening to this podcast right now, is that there's a lot of salespeople who want to go and open a business or buy a business or start a podcast or do something on the side to help build their net worth or build their impact and be less dependent on a single job. But sometimes it's really stressful because you think, oh, well, I have to work 40 to 50 hours at my day job, and then maybe I have a family at home, or it's hard to like fit all these things in. And like, I mean, even for me, right? Like I work 7 to 5, and then I do like podcasts in the evening, or I'm like up late editing and stuff like that. And it's really draining, but also really energizing. And so that's what I think is really interesting with AI, is if I can figure out, I mean, even here's like a random side note, but I use AI for this podcast, right? Like in Riverside, which is the software that I use. Once I get done once I get done with an episode, they'll clip up different sections that I can share on social media. They'll also summarize my notes and my chapters, so that people can come in and click where they want to go and everything like that. And so that literally saves me probably like 20 minutes of, or if not more, of trying to like implement another software. And so that's cool that you were able to use that to scale up your business, because I think, like you said, it's so hard to hire people in the States to do simple tasks. But if you could hire someone out of the Philippines for $8 an hour, and they can do all this work for you, that's super efficient.
Well, dude, and the crazy part too is like, I always thought when I hear VA, like initially what I thought was like simple tasks, repetitive tasks. Like that's what I was gonna have them do. I cannot even fathom or like comprehend just like the skill set of these individuals. Like, it is insane. It is insane to me. Like, I just brought on an SDR. Dude, this guy lived in the States for 15 years. He was a professional race car driver. Like, he's insane. You would never be able to tell that he was like ever in the Philippines, that like he just no accent, anything. He's so just, he's incredible. It's like maybe, just on a podcast doing something like this, he would totally do that. And I think that's what I was astounded by, the amount of talent. I was like, this is literally like premium US talent, even better a lot of times. And they can be completely self-sufficient. Like, they'd say, hey, I need you to go do this. And it's like, I think what people don't realize with VAs is it's just like having an employee. Like, our CEO is a VA. Like, we have a CEO in the Philippines, and she manages like all hundreds of our VAs, right? And like, she was in Silicon Valley for 15 years. Like, she's worked in corporate, she's worked in like Fortune 500s. She's perfect English. Like, she understands ops, she understands everything. She knows how to manage people so well. And it's like, dude, that is available. Like, it doesn't have to be something that's like completely repetitive over and over. Like, they're incredible video editors. Like, one of our guys is famous in the Philippines for social media. I'm like, what is happening?
So what are some of those tasks, and how would, let's say I was using a VA tomorrow, what do I do to get the most out of working with a VA in the Philippines?
Totally depends. So like, give me a scenario, like for maybe your podcast or something like that.
Yeah, hey, why don't we just use me, right?
Cool.
Because I'm already
Cool.
interested in it. I'm doing sales, so let's say there's two different sides that I'm interested in personally. So one is using them on the sales side, where I have admin tasks, I have maybe notes, or even just like general outreach that'd be super helpful. But then on the other side, I have the podcast where I have to write scripts, I have to edit it, I have to publish it. And there's other things that I would like to be doing, but I'm not, because I'm spending time on this. So
Yeah.
So
what would you say
like, this
like
is a
takes
situation.
up? What would you say takes up most of your time?
Well, there's a couple different things. I mean, the things that are the least energizing for me are editing. Editing podcasts and publishing it. Those can take me like 2 or 3 hours a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Per episode.
Totally. Okay, so like, if I was in your shoes, right, and I was like, hey, and this was totally me. I was like, I don't really know what a VA can do, and like, I don't really know how effective it's going to be, and I also don't want to spend a ton of money, because like, if it doesn't work, then I'm going to be pretty disappointed and frustrated. Right, and that's just like me being honest. Like, I just like, that's where I was at. So I was like, I'm going to start at the like cheapest possible and at the lowest minimum possible hours. And then I was like astounded. I was like absolutely taken away. So I would take some Loom videos of like everything that I do manually, because like, if you know how to do it, somebody else can know how to do it. And then I'd take those Loom videos and say, explain what you are doing, exactly what's happening, and be like, this is really what I would love help with. This is the type of people I'd love to reach out to. It's just like kind of training an employee, right? It's like, literally, you can spend an hour doing that, of like making it, even half an hour making these Loom videos. And then what I would do is I would take the transcript from the Loom video and put it into ChatGPT and say, make into actionable list for employee. And then I would have a full list step by step of how to complete something from the Loom, along with the Loom video for reference. And then I would probably have them manage my mailbox and my LinkedIn. And then I have them be prospecting based off of the person that I described in the Loom video. So I'd say, they're going to go into Sales Nav, they're going to scrape their emails, and they're going to send them LinkedIn connection requests that are personalized, along with personalized email, to like book these calls and or demos, whatever it is that you need. And then I'm going to have them follow up with them, and they're going to be in my email, and they're going to be in my LinkedIn. So it's me, right? And then I'm also then going to have them, I would probably find someone that's proficient in video editing. So I'd have them coordinate everything with the other person, make sure up to task. If somebody needs to reschedule, they reschedule, they find somebody else to fill in, confirm with me via Slack. So I'd add them to like a connected Slack channel, so that I can just get a hold of them really quickly. It'd be on my desktop and my phone. And then I would essentially, have them set up everything from start to finish for the podcast. So like, have them set up River, I'd take a video on how to use it, what it looks like. And then at the end of the day, all I'd do is I would hop into this, I would do this call, and then I'd leave. And then what they would do is they'd take that recording, they'd chop it up and You give them examples of what you'd like it to look like. They can study the previous things that you've done in the past. And then you have essentially like a fully automated pipeline of, you don't have to worry about booking people on your podcast. The in mail and anything that is inbound is completely handled in your tone of voice. You can automatically reschedule and they can alert you when that happens. And then all you have to do is just, it pops up on your calendar and you just click in and there's already a brief for you about the person, their background, maybe a few reference posts for you and some questions to ask them that are personalized to them. And then that's it. And then they handle all the video editing after. They send you all the stuff in like a Google Drive, and then they can post it to your social media for you, and then just Slack you, hey, can I post this? You say, yeah, just change these few things. Cool, sounds good. And they post everything. That's what I would do.
Yeah. No, and hearing you say that is really interesting because I feel like there's so many things I spend time on that I don't realize.
Yeah,
From prep work to post work. Because I think if I went through my day, there's a lot of things that I could find where it's like I'm not really being effective here. Like somebody else could definitely do this for me.
100%.
But two questions I have along with that is, so what about security? Like you just give them
I
access to
do.
like personal
I
email and
do.
everything?
Yeah, I do. They have everything, like literally everything.
So
Yeah,
what's to
100%.
stop them from like identity theft or even if like their computer got hacked or anything like that?
For sure. So like security measure wise, like that's why I went with Coconut VA to kind of start. Cause I was like, okay, like they're an agency, they have like a process in place, they're employed. Like I feel better about that. So like on a normal VA, and like obviously you got to be careful with the, you know, everybody that you're given access to and everything like that. But I mean, we vet our people very hard. And like we get thousands of people that apply every single month. And like I think it is like less than 1% or something like that, that like I think anything security wise has ever happened. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so like I have never really had a problem like that. I mean, like you have to realize, right? It'd be essentially the exact same thing of like if you gave me your LinkedIn login and I was your, boss or something like that, or you were my coworker and I was like, hey, can you do this for me? And then you posted or messaged a ton of people like, I hate you. That's like one, that
Mm-hmm.
person's obviously going to get fired. Like they had a job and that sucks. So like there's obviously like there's like consequences to everything, but I mean like I'm not going to give them like my debit card per se or anything like that. Or my like we have done that in the past. So I mean like for example, today I sent in to one of our workers, like one of our employees, she asked for my passport. So like she had my passport, like,
Mm-hmm.
like, and like, that's, yeah, I mean, but all of that stuff is like completely, you can fix that. And like we say, if you're going to give them, like, if you're going to give your employee any money or if you get any money, like test it first, like in little increments and see what happens. Like, so put a limit on your card for like $500 or something like that. So it's like, there $100,000 it didn't just get liquidated from your Amex, and that worst case scenario is like the bank can, essentially take back that money and refund you and can explain the situation. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, but
No, it's that was just one thing I was curious about because I was even talking about it with my wife earlier. I was like, yeah, like you can have somebody do this stuff, and she's like, wait, like you just give them access to your personal info and your personal logins. Um, so
I mean,
I
I
guess.
make a specific password for all of my stuff if a VA is in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like I require dual authentication. So like if worst comes
Oh,
to
okay.
worst, like, if they do get into an account, then like, or they're trying to do something weird, like dual authentication is probably going to snag a good amount of that. And there's other countermeasures as well you can do. So
Yeah. So I'm sure you're like pretty cautious with which things you give them access to.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I have, so like it totally depends on like what you want. I mean, like sometimes not necessarily, right? Like, I mean, the guy that I just hired on to be an SDR, he's going to have my LinkedIn, my email, HubSpot, will be in Slack. Like he's pretty much going to have
Mm-hmm.
everything. Um,
So I guess maybe digging deeper, you probably give them access to your work email, but not your personal email, or is it both?
To be honest, I don't really use my personal email that much. Like he
Okay.
could have it, but mainly just work emails. Yeah, I mean, like I don't. It's not really a reason to give them my personal. Like I wouldn't want him in my personal email, like per se.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's mine. Like it's not work stuff. So like
Mhm.
I kind of view it as like if it's related to work, they can have like they can have access to it. But if not, then it'd probably be mine per se.
Mhm. And then the other thing you did was you set up a personal Slack with them. So do you just go set
Yeah.
like
I
a
make like
separate
a
Slack account?
yeah, I just make my own workspace. So like I think I have like 4 or 5 workspaces right now. So like one is completely for content. So like essentially what happens is like this is actually super cool. I'm stoked we're talking about this. Is like I've really
Okay,
wanted
cool.
to get into like short form content. That's been something I've like really wanted to do. And I love startup stories and I love founder stories and I listen to them all day, every day. So I
Okay.
just started doing like short form stories. So the process that I have now is super sweet. Like I go find these stories, run it through ChatGPT, and then do some research and like train ChatGPT on the style of writing that I like. And then I feed it a ton of information and it spits out a script. I throw this script into Notion. And like obviously I'm gonna automate a lot of this at the end of the day with like hiring a VA to do all of this stuff for me. But like I just don't I don't have the capacity like right now to, necessarily do that yet. But at that point, then it's completely hands off. So like that guy has have a video editor that he sees that script and I mark it as sent to editor, or I'm writing caption, or it's not started. So if I'm writing caption, it's like I'm still working on it or whatever, or ChatGPT or didn't give me a great answer. But right when it says send to editor, it notifies him, and then he knows to go in there and look at the inspiration, the notes, the style of editing, and anything that I like in there. And then all it has is either an audio or a video of me explaining and doing the whole like script, right? And then he turns it into these insane like edit. It's like the most insane thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. Like it's nuts. So this guy's producing like 7 to 9 videos per week for me. So now I'm just kind of been like content piling, and he then just
Mhm.
slacks me anytime like he needs something. And if I usually just send him all my videos or like the audio just from my phone in Slack, and I'll take the video, throw on, a light ring or something like that. And then I just send it to him in Slack and say, hey, here are the 8 videos I just made. Can I have them by the end of the week? And he says, sure. And then I can also send direct feedback to him immediately. He's like, hey, here's this video. I was like, I'm not too crazy about it, man. Can you change this stuff? Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So yeah,
So he'll spit out 7 to 8 of those a week,
7 to 9. Yeah, a week.
7 to 9.
Just
And
nuts.
how much does he charge for something like that?
So it's like, I think it's like $16 an hour, and I get like, it's like 20 hours a week, or it's 14 or $16 an hour, and it's like 20 hours a week. So it's probably like $1,500 or something like that a month. Or
Okay.
like $1,700 a month, something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So not bad at all.
So somebody could realistically hire a VA for 20 hours a week at like $700 to $800 a month, though. Does that sound right?
Like if they were gonna go like to like a
Just
third
for
party
like
or
base
something like that.
level. Yeah, for just
Yeah,
like
like
basic
if they're
stuff.
so like let's see. I'm just gonna do the math, man. Let me see what's up.
I was just pulling it up. I was like, you do 20 hours times 4 weeks at $8 an hour.
So
That's
so
$640.
we start at $12 an hour at Coconut, and
Okay,
then
$12 an hour.
20 times 4. So yeah, I mean $960 for a month, and they could do a ton of stuff like that for you, which is awesome.
That's crazy. That stuff gets me super, super excited. Have you been able to find a way to use any AI with your VAs?
Yeah, totally,
I guess I
totally.
know
Oh
you
my
talked about it a
gosh,
little bit, but
yes.
like anything specific?
Yeah, honestly, most of my outbound um is all AI tools, and then from that point forward, it's just inbound is managed by them.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
instantly is we use instantly. Um, Walaxy, definitely use Walaxy a ton. Let's see what else, man. I've used Warmly in the past.
Well,
Warmly's cool.
okay, yeah, yeah, warmly sweet. And I guess like my question behind that was just I feel like both of those, and you've already, I guess, talked about it a lot. Just both those tools are giving you more time back, which is so important.
Yeah,
Even that's the valuable
100%.
thing here with content too. I mean, anything you can do to give more time back in your pocket and go up market. Like one of the first account executives I worked with in tech, that was the thing he kept talking about is how figure out how you can make more per hour. Like what tasks am I doing in my workday that are completely useless? Eliminate those and use tasks that are more high leverage, like as opposed to like cold calling someone, can you go talk to a bigger
Dude,
company?
yeah,
Or can you talk to an association or to a large network that can refer you out versus trying to go like person to person? Because when you go person to person, sometimes it can slow down.
dude.
Same way as like doing manual
Yes,
tasks.
100%. And that's like the automation delegation part is right. Is like you have to give a system or a process in place to automate it, but then if you can't using that same system or process, you can then delegate it. So it's like dude, you would be crazy, like insanely surprised by the amount of companies that like you'd be like, wait, they use VAs. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, probably most companies that like you've heard of worked at, like they use VAs. Like I know a ton of big startup companies
I
or
know
even
plumbers.
smaller
Yeah, like
ones.
I have a friend who
Yeah, like
owns a plumbing company, and they use VAs, and they like literally replaced a US based person that they were paying like
oh
50 grand
yeah,
a year for like a fifth of the cost, and she gets
fraction of
way
the
better work,
cost. Yeah, that's the
way
crazy
better
part,
work.
man. It's like the quality of work is insane. Like
Yeah.
even so, like the SDR I just hired, dude. I literally this guy's the sweetest dude in the world, and he's giving me and I did not ask for this. He gives me an end of day report, like, and he's just like, "This
Mm,
is what I did today, and these are my goals for tomorrow." I'm like, "You're a freaking beast. What are you talking about?" You know?
I love that. Um, Dude, last question for you. We have salespeople listening that want to get into entrepreneurship. If you have one piece of advice to somebody that wants to buy a business, build a business, get into real estate, whatever, um, what would you say to them?
Talk to your customers. Like before you spend a ton of time building out a product and wasting time making a website or doing anything of the
Mm,
sort, don't talk to your friends. Do not talk to your friends. Go talk to the people that would buy it. And if your friends are the people that would buy it, make sure that they would actually buy it. Like say, great, can you sign a contract for me? And if they won't, then like they wouldn't buy it, right? Um, and that is like how you know that's how you find product market fit is you just completely talk to people and people wait. And I've done this so many times. It's the worst. It's like I've wasted weeks of my life, weeks and weeks, months of my life making a beautiful website and getting ready to launch and just getting ready to do all this stuff. When like really what you could do is you could make a one-page website using Type Dream in less than 24 hours and then put your idea on paper and then get demos in Type Dream and just ask like that's literally Thunderstrike is still on Type Dream. Like we made that I think I made that website in like 3 or 4 hours. Right? Is like literally you can then go validate the crap out of it. Is like start going talk to your go talk to people. They need to understand that this is the brand. You can like make the logo in Canva. In 24 hours, you can have something that looks super legit is the point. And then just go validate to see if people actually want it and talk to those people. Because if you can do that, then and people are actually willing to buy it, game time. Like then you can actually go find this technical co-founder and start building this. But pre-sales is everything. And like selling stuff is hard. That is the hardest part of every single business. So like you guys, every salesperson that's listening to this, like you are a freaking beast. Like we need the technical people and we also need the salespeople. Like it is yin and yang at the end of the day. So that would be my best piece of advice for sure.
Oh, dude, no, I love that so much because I think friends can be like the best and the worst influence when it comes to starting a business because you can have this idea where it sounds really, really cool and everyone says, oh, it's such a good idea. And then you go ask them like, oh, well, would you actually buy this? And it's like, nah. I'm like, well,
You're like,
then,
well, why'd you just
you
say it
know,
was a
like,
great idea? Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
And
you
like, I
like
think
build up
if
that pent up demand. so that like
Yeah.
people are coming to you and say, hey, like I want this thing, and then you go build it, and then it's like, it's not build it and they will come, it's go find where people are at and then build it for them, because if you build it
Yes.
and they will come, it's
100%.
like, I don't know if that's always true.
Dude, you know how many stuff people have built and nobody came? Like, come on. Like, it's like, what?
Oh, for sure.
I think that
Oh, for sure.
you'd be also like so surprised, dude. Like, I was so freaking surprised when I did a cold email campaign to a specific accelerator that I was about to apply to.
Mhm.
I won't say which one, but I said, I'm about to apply to this accelerator. Would you guys mind hopping on a call and giving me some tips and just talking about it? Dude, I think I hopped on 20 calls off of like a few hundred emails, and I closed probably 4 or 5 people. And I wasn't even trying to, but it was like, they ended up just like giving me tips. I asked them questions about it, what to do. We ended up like having a great conversation. We started talking about the problem that I was trying to solve. And they're like, oh, that's a problem we have. Like, we would love help with that. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, would you sign a contract? They're like, like, I think one person did. So I was like, yeah, for sure. And then I was like, well, would you sign an LOI? Right. And I was like, sure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I was like, wow, okay, like maybe we're on to something. So that definitely, the point of that is people are way more willing to help and give feedback, but you have to approach it like you're not like, hey, you want to hop on a virtual coffee for 15 minutes and like I can pitch you on my course. It's like, well, no.
Yeah. No, there's so much power in just talking to people about their problems, and there's so many problems out there that just need to be solved, and if you can find it and then build around it, like
Totally.
there's just so many, I think, hidden markets that people don't know about. But George, dude, it's been a blast having you on here. And yeah, thanks for being on the podcast.
Dude, this has been awesome, man. Seriously, you are the best. Like, this has been super sick. So yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Cool. See you.